This video is sponsored by Squarespace. More on them in a bit.
I'm a big believer that big changes in your life don't always have to happen with big moves. Sometimes the smallest little steps or shifts in our routine can really have dramatic impact on how we feel about life, our mental state, our enjoyment levels. So I thought it'd be fun today to share some of the smaller habits that have had a really positive impact on my life. Maybe they won't all necessarily apply to you, but hopefully there's something in this video that you can try implementing in the next couple days or this week. It can provide you a little boost in your life. It should come as no surprise, I'm a huge fan of habit tracking. I think there's something really satisfying about visually keeping track of what I'm doing, not just from a satisfaction standpoint, like if I am taking my vitamins or if I'm hydrating, if I'm working out. I love seeing that I did those things because it's just a personal accomplishment, but also there can sometimes be benefits just from keeping that data about yourself. A basic example of this would be, you know, if I find myself breaking out on my face, I can see, well, have I been drinking as much water as I typically do, or maybe I have a period coming up. Habit tracking doesn't have to be super complicated. For many years I primarily did habit tracking in my bullet journal and my planner with just a pen and paper, so creating a grid for the month of 30 days and then just filling it in with a fun colored pen when I accomplish something. And that's a really classic good old method to do the habit tracking thing, but technology has definitely made it so that there are a lot of exciting ways to habit track now. One of the ones I've really been a fan of is using NFC stickers, and I talked about NFC stickers in my organization essentials video. But essentially you can buy a package of these stickers off of Amazon. They're not super expensive either, and you can program them to do things when you scan them with your phone. I have one on my vitamins that when I scan it with my phone, it automatically updates my health app with not only the fact that I took the vitamin, but how much of the vitamin I took. I don't need to tap anything in my phone. I don't need to do anything on my watch. It's so simple, which encourages me to do it more. I do that for my coffee intake as well. I guess you could also do it for your sleep tracking. Basically anything that you track within the health app you can turn into an NFC sticker. Super cool. I have a short explaining how I programmed my vitamin one. But I also use apps on my smartwatch. This is the Apple Watch series, I think it's the 5 that I have. I adore using this for tracking my workouts because not only am I tracking the fact that I did work out on a particular day, but it tracks the type of workout I'm doing, my heart rate, how many calories I burn. There's just a lot of information that you get from that. I also use like Goodreads to track my reading activity, what books I'm reading, my rating on them. Sometimes I write reviews. I have trackers on Notion as well, mostly for more work related things. I just think habit tracking can really motivate you to stick to those little things that you want to make sure are a priority in your daily life. And you can switch up the habit tracking that you do to keep it fresh and fun. So try new apps, new methods. I don't know about you, but no matter what, when I'm scrolling on social media in the morning, I will inevitably come across something that doesn't make me feel good, whether it's from a personal standpoint, whether it's from a worldview standpoint. There's just something in there that is yucky. But when I'm having my morning coffee, I need something to entertain me. I just can't sip on it and be in the moment while drinking my coffee. I love coffee, and you'd think I'd be able to just savor that moment, but I need something to kind of wake me up. I really love, which again should come as no surprise, reading. I do try and read nonfiction when I'm reading in the morning because that's just when I'm most in a state where I can like really take in that information. I am still reading The Myth of Normal by Gabor Mate, but if nonfiction reading isn't your thing, then fiction reading is just as good. I will sometimes do a morning fiction reading session, especially during the night before I was left on a cliffhanger. I mentioned reading because reading is something that I feel like I can get into a flow with, and I won't be tempted to pick up my phone once I get into that flow. Not everyone can do that, so podcasts are a great option, documentaries are a good option too, audiobooks, whatever form of media that allows you to spend a little bit of time in your morning learning something new. I think learning is such a positive way to start the day. It sets your day off to a naturally inspiring start because you're challenging your brain to view the world in a slightly new way. I just think learning is so powerful for also naturally bringing in that variety into our life. Speaking of phones, I feel like another very popular small habit that you hear about is do not disturb mode, airplane mode, whatever it is, to try and limit the amount of notifications that you get. I'm a big fan of what Apple allows you to do. I'm sure Androids have a similar feature where you can have different different modes of do not disturb mode. On Apple devices, you can customize things called focuses, where you can say what notifications you want to come through and what you don't want to come through when you're studying, or when you're going to sleep, or when you're working. In addition to being able to control the notifications, you can also change the way your home screens look at different times of the day. So that also helps with keeping certain apps out of easy reach, and you can make it so that those focuses turn on automatically. So I don't have to manually press a button for it to go on. And I love playing around with automation because humans are just a little bit unreliable, to be honest. Like sometimes we just can't rely on ourselves to have the discipline to do something that we should be doing. So if I can find a way to just make it an automatic thing, I love it. I have one for work that allows a lot of email notifications to come through because obviously I'm in work mode, so if something urgent comes through, I can deal with it. But then at 5 o'clock until 9 o'clock the next morning, like I'm not getting those notifications. Not always a deterrent for me. Like I will admittedly still go look at my inbox. I think just not having it shoved down my throat every time I look at my phone, which is often, unfortunately, it will prevent me thinking about emails I need to get back to as often. I've been using Squarespace for nearly 3 years to run my blog, CaitlinDeSilva.com, and one of the reasons I love using it so much is because of how simple it is to create and maintain a pleasing to the eye website. Squarespace has so many great templates geared for whatever topic you're interested in posting about. Interior design, fashion, photography, music, art, design, and more. And each template can be personalized to fit your own tastes and/or branding. As you're designing, you can see your site in web and mobile mode, so you can ensure your site looks exactly how you want it to look on any device. You can also easily add features like search engines to your site so all your readers can easily find what they're looking for. Whether you're wanting to start a new hobby or make a step up in your career and you still haven't given Squarespace a try for yourself, then consider today to be the day you head to squarespace.com today for a free trial and use the URL squarespace.com/Caitlin'sCorner to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain when you're ready to launch. Meal prepping in all of its different forms, whether you are making entire meals for the week or you're just prepping ingredients that you can use to make cooking faster throughout the week, you're just focusing on breakfast or you're just focusing on dinners, like there's so many techniques, ways to attack the meal prep thing. I think it's so great. Although I love spending time in the kitchen, I don't always have the time or the desire to make a full breakfast, lunch, and dinner situation every single day. But a really small way to embrace meal prepping with a low time commitment is just committing yourself to making doubles. If you're making a meal tonight, make double for you tomorrow, or you and your significant other or your family tomorrow. Just make 2 times the amount. I think there's dishes that are particularly easy to do this with, like homemade pizza, taco night, pasta. I love doing this pasta dishes. I know pasta might not be necessarily what people think about when they think about meal prepping, leftover friendly, but if you add olive oil to your leftover pasta, I find it stores really well over the next couple days. Obviously cold pasta salads are especially good as we head into the spring summer season. When I'm making pancakes, I love making extra so that I can store them in my freezer. Pancakes freeze really well and they're simple to add into the toaster when you want to reheat them on another day. So you can end up getting like quite a few breakfast options through making a Sunday morning pancake batch. I love the make double method. It's a way to meal prep in a really non-intimidating way. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's experienced doing a task only to be immediately shoved out of the moment. Kind of like a Raven moment, but instead of seeing a vision of the future, you're being reminded of like this pressing thing that you can't forget, and you're telling yourself, I can't forget to do that, I can't forget to do that. And then your anxiety goes up because you're like, I'm gonna forget to do that. I don't trust myself. So instead of getting caught up in the thought that I'm going to forget that thing, I just automatically, if I'm at home, tell my home speakers to remind me of that task or that thing at a future date or at a future time where I know I'll be able to act on it. I do this for things like prompts to take my vitamins. I had one today that reminded me tickets were on sale for a concert I want to go to. I have groceries being delivered that day. I'll have a reminder a couple hours before those are due, just so that I feel like I'm on top of the game, like nothing can slip through the cracks. And don't get me wrong, if you're in this apartment for long enough, you're just bombarded with reminders throughout the day, but it does feel like I've got a personal assistant just giving me a nudge like, hey Caitlin, you've got this coming up, or hey Caitlin, don't forget about this. And it does alleviate a lot of concerns that I'm going to forget things. I'm really bamboozling everyone in my life and thinking that I am keeping track of everything. I'm just I just have tons of planning and reminder tools happening. So I'm able to keep the illusion going. My brain is not that powerful. I can't remember the last time I filmed in my bedroom like this. New angle unlocked, I guess. I have long loved playing with breathing. I'm a big meditator, but I have found recently that when I'm just going about my day, actually using breathing techniques, not just in and out, but some sort of pattern has been extra helpful because it is a little bit more unnatural than just breathing in and out, which is something that automatically, hopefully, is happening for everyone watching this video right now. The pattern aspect just gives you something else to focus on in addition to your breath. Box breathing is one of my favorite breathing patterns. If you look up box breathing online, there's a ton of images that pop up on Google Images that kind of diagram it out for you. But essentially, you're breathing in for 4 seconds, holding that breath in for 4 seconds, breathing out for 4 seconds, and then holding that out breath for 4 seconds and repeating that. I talked in my last video too about on the Huberman podcast, there was the technique of doing 2 inhales and then an exhale. There's a lot of different breathing patterns that play around with inhales, exhales, and holding time. So if taking a deep breath in hasn't always felt like it's advice that resonates, or meditating hasn't felt like it resonates, maybe just try simple breathing patterns, just doing a couple of those, nothing too strenuous. An unexpected comfort that I've embraced that kind of happened by accident is winding my day down with red light. So typically when I'm in my bedroom, I have a red light going on at night, and it happened because I had gotten a colored light bulb in my lamp on my side table. It's a Philips Hue light bulb, and I would just naturally want to play around with the colors when I was in this room. So I found myself gravitating towards pinks and oranges, and finally I settled on red as something that really set the tone well. And I've learned since then that there's actually studies that have come out that showed that that might be actually helpful for creating better sleep, better quality sleep. Just from my own personal standpoint, not scientifically proven at all. I just find it a really good energy when the room is in red and it's not overly bright like a typical white or yellow light. So I think it just aids in helping me get to sleep. And I'm sure just leaving the habit of it is telling my body that, okay, now it's red light time, it's time to start winding down. So I've really been loving it. In recent years, just lighting in general has been something I focus a lot on in this apartment, and making sure certain areas at night are lit a certain way that creates ambiance and creates relaxation. Having candlelight that comes in the form of battery operated candles, and having lights by my TV and lamps, and like avoiding the dreaded ceiling light, like all these things. I also have recently gotten a sunshine alarm clock, so when my alarm goes off, there's a light that gets brighter and brighter to create the illusion of the sun rising. And that has been really helpful in the winter, particularly because the mornings tend to be a bit darker. I have a light therapy light, a sunlight light that's meant to help during the dark days of the winter too by my desk. So lighting can be really powerful. Don't sleep on the lighting. In the times in my life, the few times in my life where I have had troubles with sleep, it has been the thing that is probably the hardest to navigate, because when you're just feeling so drained, how can you show up for all these other healthy habits like exercising, finding a hobby, cooking good meals? Like if you don't have the energy to even get up in the morning, how can you have the energy to do these things that require more discipline? So sleep is a big priority for me, and one of the easiest ways I found to just encourage a pretty consistent sleeping schedule for me is to be very consistent with my sleeping schedule. When I was younger, I definitely found myself from Sunday to Thursday going to bed, you know, at a proper time because I had school the next day. But then on the weekends, I would allow myself to stay up later because there's nowhere to be in the morning. But for the most part, with the exception of a random night here or there throughout the month, I'm pretty disciplined in going to sleep with the intention of actually knocking myself out at 11:30, and my alarm for the morning goes off at 7:30. I'm sure there are some people who have no problem on the weekends adjusting to going to bed later and waking up later, and then boomeranging back to their weeknight schedule, but that back and forth is not great for me. And my body is so hooked into that even if I have a friend over on the weekend and we're watching a movie late, it is inevitable that like 1 o'clock will hit and you'll just be seeing me constantly, my eyes drooping, and then me trying to force them open so that I can not look lame. Hopefully there was at least one thing in this video that you are inspired to play around with this week. I really would love to know in the comments below, what is a small healthy habit that has had big impact on your life? I know you guys always have some really interesting pieces of advice and tips. Thank you again to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video. Don't forget to click the link in the description box below to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. If you've got video requests of things you want to see this spring, summer, then don't be afraid to also leave those in the comment section. I will see you all very soon with a new video, and until then, bye everyone.
I had a dream last night. Did everything I never do in real life. I stepped into a room, told everyone to be quiet, cause I had something to say, blew everybody away. Wear whatever I want, dressed in a gown, everybody's like, why, where you going, nowhere special, just going to the store. I think I'd have it all, tell you I have even more. Picking a plate, being a plate, she is unruly. Never seen her like this, didn't think it existed, no truth.